168, we are going to go over this chapter called Weakest. And the reason that we're doing this chapter is because this is the first of a series of several chapters that are called Weakest. So there's Weakest Part 1, Weakest Part 2, Weakest Part 3, which for me is an indicator that this is important. So it's something that the author wants us to notice. So on page 168, what we're going to do is we're just going to read out loud and then stop and ask questions. Before we start, the first paragraph, it talks about a warrant officer. Would somebody like to read this out loud for us?
A warrant officer serves as a technical expert, functional leader, advisor, professional, and risk manager, contributing to the overall proficiency of the organization.
Good. So this paragraph talks about the warrant officer. It also talks about hobnailed jack boots. So these are boots that were commonly used in World War II, especially by German officers, and also used in other wars by just soldiers. Yes.
Fun fact, German soldiers with these boots would stomp on Jewish babies with these.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, that's pretty yeah.
Well, they do look pretty treacherous, right? You've got those spikes at the bottom. They're supposed to be for marching, so it's supposed to help them have traction while they're marching. That's why they were designed that way. So think about those things as we read the first paragraph. Does somebody want? All right, go ahead and read.
The warrant officer in charge of field exercises is the commandant, and an overzealous schoolmaster named Bastian with an expansive walk and a round belly and a coat quivering with war medals. His face is scarred from smallpox and his shoulders look as though they've been hewn from soft clay. He wears hobnailed jack boots every second of the day, and the cadets joke that he kicked his way out of the womb with them.
Good. So now I need you to reread this paragraph and just think about the following questions. So you're going to think about imagery. What imagery do you find in this paragraph? And then what does the imagery add to the description? So who can just quickly give me a reminder about what imagery is?
Isn't it sort of the in detail descriptions of something that really gives you a feel for sort of the connotation that the paragraph is trying to get with, like with the hobnailed jack boots, I feel it's kind of, you're getting this kind of sharp presentation where it feels kind of, ooh, that's kind of scary. And I feel that's a big part of imagery, sort of building that mental image.
Good. So mental image, I like that. So it's words and phrases and descriptors that pull the reader in because it's kind of, it involves the senses. So sight, smell, sound, taste, touch. It's an author will often use descriptors that are imagery to pull you in and to help you experience the sensation of being in the paragraph. So read through it, think about that, and we'll talk about it. Sorry. So what were some of the examples of imagery that you found?
So with it's describing Bastian. Basically, you can create a mental image of how he is, what he looks like, based on like how deep this paragraph is.
Good. Yeah, so that was the purpose. That's what it added to the paragraph. And then what were some specific examples that you found?
It talked about how he wore a coat quivering with war medals, and that his face was scarred from smallpox.
Good. Good. What else did you guys find? So those are all good examples. Another one that I thought was interesting was that his shoulders looked as though they'd been hewn from soft clay. So I like that because it's a sensory experience, and then it feels like you can almost touch the soft clay in your hands. So I really liked that. What might the hobnailed jack boots symbolize in this paragraph?
You know, like power and strength, you know, like I think maybe he wears them and talks about how he wears them every single day. The other cadets like joke about it, but also I think it symbolizes a lot of the power that he has.
Good. So power.
Yeah.
And is there a connotation of him using the power for good or not?
I was actually just about to say, like, I think a big thing with the hobnail jackboots is it sort of symbolizes a sense of almost anger and violence, because the kid joke about how he could have come out of the womb with them, and it's almost, he's just always been this. He's always been this aggressive, this harsh, I guess, is the kind of sense I'm getting from when we talk about it.
Yeah, it goes back to what we said earlier about how the jackboots were used to hurt people, right? So there's definitely a negative connotation with hobnailed jackboots. It's power, it's possibly brutality and violence. I feel like you guys were saying the jackboots can symbolize that. Okay, so here are just a few vocab words that will help us understand the rest of the reading. We have coils. This is to show fear or apprehension. Opalescent. This is colorless or white and opal. Atavistic. This is reversion to something ancient or ancestral. I think this is just kind of primal. It takes you back to your primal instincts. And transected. This is to cut across something, to divide something by cutting it. Yes. Okay, so now we're just going to read through the rest of this together. Raise your hand if you'd be willing to read it out loud. So 2. So how about we start, you can read the first page 168, and then you can read page 169. Is that good? And then I'll read page 170. So go
Do
ahead.
you want me to start from after where I have finished?
Yeah, start with Bastion.
Bastion demands that they memorize maps, study the angle of the sun, cut their own belts from cowhide every afternoon. Whatever the weather, he stands in a field of ball in state sown dicka. Prosperity depends on ferocity. The only things that keep your precious grandmothers in their tea and cookies are fists at the end of your arms. An ant capable of severe and chronic violence. The corpse is a body, he explains, twirling a length of rubber hose.
So let's just pause really fast. So it's the core. So it's like the group of people that they're working with, like the soldiers.
Right,
So like
the
core.
Marine Corps.
Right.
That's my bad. The core is a body, he explains, twirling a length of rubber hose so that its tip whirls inches from
Chase 1. Warner keeps to the center of the group as it strings out, his heart beating in dark confusion, wondering where Frederick is, why they're chasing this boy, and what they're supposed to do if they catch him.
So let's pause there for just a minute. So they've just chosen this like pretty small boy that they all know can't run fast, and they're all chasing him, but they're not sure what they're supposed to do when they catch him. So what do you think is going to happen? Let's make some predictions.
Wait, what was the question?
So what do we think is going to happen? Just predict what will happen next, just based on what we know.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. I was gonna say that I think they're probably gonna hurt him in some way. I feel like that's my best guess. It could be wrong because I feel like this might end with a fist, but I feel like if I was in a situation, my first thought would be, well, this isn't gonna end well. Obviously, if you're being chased by a group of people in a high stress situation, it wouldn't be high stress if you thought it was gonna end well. So.
I feel like they're being taught brutality, so they have to do something brutal to prove that they're like becoming who they wants them to be.
Good. Yeah, I think that's true. It's kind of like a survival of the fittest situation, and they're definitely like in order to not be the person that's hurt, like they have to hurt others. It almost seems like, and that's what they need to do for themselves. So I think those are good predictions. All right, will you finish us off with page 169?
Except in some atavastic part of his brain, he knows exactly what they'll do. A few outrunners are exceptionally fast. They gain on the long figure. Ernest limbs bump furiously, but he clearly is not accustomed to sprinting, and he loses steam. The grass waves, the trees are transected by sunlight. The pack draws closer and Warner feels annoyed. Why couldn't Ernest be faster? Why hasn't he practiced? How did he make it through the entrance exams? The fastest cadet is lunging for the back of the boy's shirt. He almost has it. Black-haired Ernest is going to be caught, and Warner wonders if some part of him wants it to happen. But the boy makes it to the commandant a split second before the others come pounding past.
Good job. Okay, so he doesn't quite, he makes it back to the commandant before the boys catch him, so presumably he's safe for now. So now I'd like you to go through and read and see if you can find some other examples of imagery. So remember, imagery is usually descriptive or figurative language, and I have some examples up here that I found. So one that I thought was interesting was it says, Warner keeps to the center of the group as it strings out. And I just put a picture of one of those like strings. I don't know if you guys ever played like Cat's Cradle, where they had like the string and you could do lots of things with the string. For me, that was the visual that it kind of brought up in my brain. Like they're all part of this unit, and they kind of move together, but they're all like connected as one. So I thought that was an interesting visual that they kind of would string out, and I think it also kind of attests to like the connectedness that they're trying to create within this unit. And then another one that I thought was interesting was it says the trees are transected by sunlight. So I just kind of have this visual image in my brain of like the sunlight just kind of cutting a line across the trees where there's light and dark, which is interesting because there are lots of themes around light in the book, all the light we cannot see. So it kind of made me think about like the deeper meaning that could exist in that imagery. So those are some examples. So take a few minutes and I'll just have you guys write some examples that you can like see in the chapter.